Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're talking about my top 20 fun new commanders from 2025. So these commanders are all new, all released within this year. Keep in mind that this is a personal list. It's not exhaustive. It's not every single fun commander that came out. This is my top 20. And it's obviously, my opinion. I'd love to hear what your opinions are down below, or, just like the video if you agree. Would be great. Now, keep in mind that I went for fun over power, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are weak or that some couldn't potentially helm either fringe or actual CEDH decks. I also did exclude the new Marvel cards because otherwise this would be a list with 4 of the new Marvel cards and then 16 other cards. I'm talking about ones that you're actually able to acquire within the actual sets, not like, ones that you have to go out and either proxy or pay an arm and a leg for. And this is also for the commander, not for the 99. We're talking purely the creature that is going to helm your decks. So let's go. Also, a quick note. My content has been a little bit more sporadic very recently. My wife got a new job, and while I am super duper proud of her and she's going absolutely amazing, it just means that I have been more busy with the kids and getting the house in order and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for the patience in this busy period. Hopefully you stick by me. We've got Christmas coming up and stuff, so it's going to be busy because of that anyway. But yeah, just thank you, I guess. So let's get into it. So we've got Gornog the Red Reaper. So he is a very cool warrior tribal commander. I just love the idea of you're sitting there with your deck of warriors just being calling people cowards, saying that, their mother is a goat or whatever, and then they suddenly just forget what they are, because when they become a coward, they don't become a coward in addition to his other types. They become a coward, and that is their only creature type. So you're just wiping out whatever they thought they were beforehand. They just forget about it. They are that scared. Now, while he's not the strongest or the best warrior commander, most likely the most fun, in my opinion. We've got the Jolly Balloon Man, and he's probably the card that I hate the most, just because of that art. I absolutely hate the art. Boros Clones wasn't something that I had on my bingo sheet to ever come, for like anytime soon again. There are so many ways to kind of make use of it, so you don't need to sacrifice the creatures as well, but also just doubling each ETB or impact tremor style effects and that kind of stuff is just so worth it. And look at that art. Just imagine, if you've got a Jolly Balloon Man deck, if you've got creatures in there, you should go and create custom tokens for each of those with just their head as a balloon, because that would be freaking hilarious. All right. We got Kona Rescue Beastie. The funny thing is that we did get kind of 2 big mono green cheat out big stuff commanders with Kona, and then with the new loot as well from Foundations. I think that Kona's more interesting as well, just because he has any permanent, so you can cheat out, big artifacts, creatures, enchantments, that kind of stuff. And he also has survival. And as soon as he came out, people were immediately like, I am going to cheat this in the best way possible, where instead of survival being like, hey, he attacked and he survived, instead I'm going to tap him for mana. I'm going to bring vehicles in. I'm going to do all of this stuff. And it's just really cool. I love Kona. Kona is the best girl. We've got Niv Mizzet Visionary. I love the idea as well of Niv Mizzet just going infinite with all these other versions. It's the most on flavor card that they have added in quite a while. Not just that, but he's also just a awesome payoff for, like, if you want to build a burn deck that's Izzet, or a spell slinger deck that's Izzet, because he's already doing the stuff that you want in that deck, and then he's adding on top the fact that he's going to refill your hand so you can do more of it, right? Like, all of a sudden your Bolt Wave is now deal 3 damage to each person and draw 9 cards, and then you've got stuff that's like, hey, when you draw a card, deal damage to people, boom, infinite. We've got Shrufus Sproutshire. I cannot pronounce it. Shrufus Sproutshire. There's so many Jumpstart 2025 commanders that could be on this list. I've chosen 2 of them, I think. I think it's 2. But either way, there's just a huge amount that could be on this list that are really fun. But those 2 are just amazing. I love them. He is a little mushroom dude who has like this Sapro Link. So kind of like how Lifelink is when you deal damage, you're going to go and gain life. He's got Sapro Link where you deal damage and then you're going to create Sapro Links. He's the first Sapro Link as well that isn't a token, like the first Sapro Link card. And it just looks so crazy. And then you read this flavor text where it's like his laughter and everything else about him was infectious. So it's like, he is sinister as all hell. That goofy smile is hiding this guy that's spreading this fungus and taking over people's brains and stuff. If you've read like the backstory for, I think it's Paris and Parasect within Pokemon, that's how I imagine it, where, you know, he's the mushroom, but then he's taking over this other stuff. We've got the Lord of Pain. He's a group slug commander that can just be played in so many different ways. The one that I really love is going out and handing out treasures to everyone. So that way they can cast all these big spells for free. But then when they cast these big spells, you're like, hey, dude, if you cast that Omniscience, you are going to shoot that guy so hard. And then that guy's like, no, please don't do it. Please, please, I have a family. And then he's like, well, I need this Omniscience. So yeah, you just make it so everyone just starts fighting each other and just destroy all their friendships, and that's the way that you could potentially play that if you're going to a LGS that you don't plan on going back to. We've got Aminatu Veil Piercer, probably one of my favorite new commanders, just because I love the idea of you've got your deck here and you're like, all right, ready, set, yes! And then you get to cast this really awesome, that's the planes, but you get what I mean. Like, you get to cast this Omniscience for 4 less. I'm saying Omniscience a lot just because I love that card. You can also draw on other people's turns. So if you have a card that lets you draw on somebody else's turn, or they draw a card, then you get to draw a card or whatever, then you can proc Miracle off of that and bypass the timing requirements. So, you know, someone else does it, draws a card, and then you draw and you're like, okay, I'm going to play the Sphere of Safety, so now you can't attack me as well. And enchantments just have so many synergies with each other. Like, you know, you look at like Eerie or Constellation or that kind of stuff, and you could just get so many different things. You're building this engine out of like, I'm going to play this, and then that's going to create this, and then that's going to proc over here, and like, you know, trigger this, and then I get trigger over here as well, and you just get so many cool things. I love it. I love it. Now, before we get into more, make sure you guys subscribe, make sure you share the video around, all that kind of stuff. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers at the moment. We are only 550 away. We've got a month and a bit to get there. We are easily going to hit 10,000, and just thank you so much. And from there, we're just going to snowball on. And honestly, this is the best YouTube channel for up-to-date news and stuff. In addition to that, I make silly brews. I pick up, like, show you guys cards to pick up, talk about commanders, precons. Everyone loves my precon videos. So we also have, if you guys want to become a YouTube member, you're going to be able to get access to our slowly growing backlog of cool brews and stuff. If you want strong brews, let me know what ones you want. If you want, you know, group brews, we've got those too. Like, you know, the one we talked about, Gornog, before, we've got him in there and stuff. So just, you know, hit me up and let me know what you'd love me to make. All right, next we've got Wick the World Mind. So my brother made a deck about this. I don't know if he's still got it or not, but it's casting so many rats or creating a whole bunch of rat tokens. Then those rats just become this big snail that just grows more. I don't know what it's doing. Like, it's slowly absorbing the power of the rats or whatever. And then that snail, you get to throw at people's face. And when you throw it, you get to heal yourself. If you've got like a Basilisk collar on Wick, you get to draw a bunch of cards. You get to create another big snail later on. Who doesn't love just throwing snails at people? We got Miss Bumbleflower. You get to kill people with kindness. Now, my personal favorite way to build this is the good old-fashioned alternate win cons, and that's how mine's built, because I don't want to, you know, do combat or something. I just want to grow, and so that way people aren't hitting me, and then I win with my, you know, approach from the second stun, or just good to file, or 20-toed toad, or whatever. But you can also just, you know, grow her up or make people draw their whole decks, or there's just a bunch of ways to be able to win with her. That's just really fun. We've got Edward Kenway. Now, he is just so flavorful. I did a video on a deck for him the other day, and I love him. He's got pirates, he's got assassins, he's got vehicles. You get to create treasures. You get to steal people's booty, and then you get to play that booty with your treasures, like you're bribing them. And then you also get to throw vehicles at people, whether it's ships or, you know, spaceships. Or I had Edward Kenway get into the RMS Titanic, and then I used the Titanic to crew the Jackdaw, and then I threw the Jackdaw at someone to get extra procs and stuff. It's just really fun. I love it. We've got Anna Kennerud. I assume that's how I pronounce that. Sky Captain. She's just really cool as well. First of all, I love the idea of ward that is not simply make people pay more mana. This is ward, discard a card. So if someone wants to interact with her, they need to discard a card to be able to do it, which I just love that idea. And then also on top of that, whenever she deals, you know, whenever I modified creature attacks, it's even before combat, before combat damage, you attack, you get to double the amount of counters on people, and then also create copies of all their auras and equipment and make these huge creatures. If you want to build her as like a Voltron commander, you could. If you want to build her going wide and, you know, you're spreading out all these equipments and auras over everything, you can. There's just so many great ways and cool ways to build her. We got These Are the Restless. So Legoif Tribal becoming a thing is just really cool. So she synergizes well with the self-milling that also buffs up your Goifs. And then your Goifs go into the graveyard. And then you trigger and bring them back onto the battlefield. And then you get to also create a million different tokens whenever you deal combat damage to things. There's just a bunch of really cool ways to make use of her. One of my favorite new decks from this year. We got Abika, Splitter of Seconds. This is one I need to build, but she's so expensive to build because all the courts like jumped up so much after she came out. It was, crazy. So she's got Upkeep Tribal. So all of those cool cards that are like, at the beginning of your upkeep, do this. If you're beginning your upkeep, do that. You get to synergize with all of those ones. Like the courts as well. Like the courts are specifically around like you want to be the monarch for them to get their bigger thing. And then she is post-combat. Like she's post-combat, you're going to get these additional upkeeps. So then you deal damage, get the monarch back, and then you get these additional upkeeps on top of that. And she's also just the queen at stealing it because she's got menace too, which is really cool. We got the Gitrog Ravenous Ride. So he's obviously around sacrificing creatures and stuff. He just does it the funniest way possible where you've got your Gitrog and then, hey, look, my creature's going to come mount it. And then it's just like, oh, post-combat. Oh, no. As you can tell, I have not had enough coffee today. He just eats the creatures that are saddling it and stuff. There's a bunch of just cool synergies with lands and big creatures and drawing heaps of cards and just nomming all of your creatures. We got Yuma, Proud Protector. So he is just personally so flavorful to me, and I love how unique he is. So you're sacrificing your creatures, sacrificing your lands, preferably deserts, and then you get to create some tokens. And then he becomes cheaper the more lands you've got in your graveyard. And then you can have ways to be able to bring those lands back, or sacrifice additional ones, draw cards. He's just got a little bit of everything, and I absolutely love my Yuma deck. It's probably like almost my go-to deck besides my what's his face deck? Oh, the one we'll get to later on. One of the ones later on. We've got the Master Transcendent. So you're going to be milling people, and then you're going to steal stuff from their graveyards. Now, you might look at this and be like, oh, he's only going to steal one thing per turn. How lame is that? No, you know what? You're in blue. You have a million ways to untap him. I have sitting down here an Intruder Alarm and a Pemon's Aura that is waiting for me to build the Master Transcendent. You get to also turn whatever creature you steal into a mutant as well, which is hilarious because, let's just say you're stealing someone's Iron Man that they had in the Captain America deck. Now you're going to turn that Iron Man into a mutant. I swear there's been a different story about that, or just whatever creature you're stealing, just turning into a mutant is really cool. We got the Mr. House President and CEO, which is probably the card that came out of Fallout that people absolutely loved because of just how really interesting he is. You're going to be just gambling, right? You're gambling. Each time you roll a dice, you could potentially create additional robots or additional treasures. It's just, really fun. And you can cheat it as well by rolling D20s because this is not... If you roll a D6, it's roll whatever dice you do. It's just whenever you roll. So you get to roll D20s and then create some robots, create some treasures, and throw stuff at people. It's really cool. All right, next we've got Voja, Jaws of the Conclave, and this is the one that I'm talking about, probably my favorite commander of all time. I absolutely love him. There are millions of elves that you're going to be able to create by simply having your elves sneeze. An elf enters the battlefield, create an elf token. You played an elf, create another elf. Your elves went and hid in the forest. Now they're coming back and they've got a baby elf with them somehow. The wolves aren't too bad either. There's some wolves that synergize really well with elves, whether it's, Voja himself or other ones. He also has Ward 3, which I cannot stress how strong that is. Ward 1 is decent. Ward 2 is kind of getting there nice and a little bit of a deterrent. Once you get to Ward 3, that's the stage where people are looking more at board wipes than they're looking at, actually removing him. So you've got card draw, you've got big creatures, you've got all the things that a growing Naya player wants. We've got Adrata, Deadly Fugitive, and I went over to my local game store, Guff, or what was it, probably about a month ago, and I made a video about this as well. It's just a very interesting take on a thieving deck. So you've got assassins. Your assassins, whenever they deal combat damage to an opponent, you are going to cloak the top card. So you're taking the top card, you're putting it face down. It is a 2/2 creature with ward 1 or 2. I can't remember which one cloak is. And then you can have the option of being able to flip them with this second ability here. You get to turn the creature face up, and if you can't, because, you know, it's not a creature, you get to exile it. Then you may play the card, cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. I believe that this is creatures, anything that is not a spell or like an instant or sorcery, you'd be able to turn face up. But if it's, you know, anything else, then you're exiling it, then bringing it back as you're exiling it, and then you get to play those instants and sorceries. So most of the, you know, the time whenever you put an instant or sorcery face down, it is going to be stuck that way. This just gives you a way to be able to make it so it's not. All right, we've got Nelly Borka, Impulsive Accuser. I love her as well. This deck is a very cool, like goad-based deck. There's a huge amount of draw that you're going to get from this deck. You don't understand until you go through and you're playing, and now you get back to your turn and your hand's like filled with like 10 cards, and you're like, all right, well, now I've got plenty of choices. Now, unfortunately, she is tied to Suspect as well, which I think is a pretty clunky mechanic. Like, it makes it so they can't block, but then also they have Menace. I just think it's a pretty clunky mechanic overall. But alas, you know, she is just a very fun kind of commander and a very fun goading commander. You get to encourage people to politely hit other people's face, so that way they get to draw cards. And then when they draw cards, you're drawing cards as well. And, you know, there's just a bunch of ways to be able to make use of this. This is really cool. So I'd love to hear from you guys what your top new fun commanders are that came out this year. We're talking specifically this year. So, you know, like, what is it? MKM onwards, I think it is. There's a few that I've probably missed here that are very fun. And you guys are going to come into the comments and say, Tauna, you're wrong. You know, what the heck is this character going on here? I want this commander on there instead. Tell me I'm wrong. Yell at me. I don't care. I hope you guys had a great day. Goodbye.